Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business podcast. I'm your co-host, JP John Poz from the Two Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is the financial wrestling genius himself, Mr. TrumpMania, Mr. Lavie Margolin. Lavie, what's going on?
I'm doing great. A special night. I counted it before we went on the air. We're welcoming Brett Lauderdale of GCW for the 8th time. Welcome, Brett.
Wow, 8 times. It's like being an 8-time world champion. So I feel honored and blessed to be here once again. Thank you, gentlemen.
What was that thing Jericho called himself? The Ocho, right?
The
He
Ocho.
was the Ocho, the 8-time champion, the Ocho.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. 8th appearance. So I think that the big news or the big story that I always kind of been following is you and GCW and the Hammerstein. So what's the latest with Hammerstein? Because that feel like that was a huge announcement by you.
Well, it was, and very consequential, of course. Guys like us don't belong in places like that, but that's what makes GCW what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just kind of felt like we had unfinished business there, and people have been asking for years, when we're going to go back. And took a look around and I realized, well, nobody else is going there, so looks like it's our turn to go again. And yeah, I don't know, just decided now was the time. Yeah, we're back, and of course
Speaking of
now we're not
that,
the only ones.
yeah, I was going to say, speaking of that, now you're not the only ones because AEW or OH, if you will, they're booking Hammerstein. Do you think that was because you guys booked it? Because we speculated here on the show. It's like, oh, that was weird. That was like a Vince McMahon old school maneuver. It's like, oh, these guys are running the building. We'll run it right before them. You know what I mean? That's just
Well,
how it seemed.
I don't, I don't know. I don't know Tony Khan personally, and I don't know enough of their people well enough to know or to speculate that they would particularly do something like that just to hurt us. Now, with that being said, the traditional etiquette, would be there's a window, where you don't go to the same buildings. And should that window, exist? I mean, oftentimes, you could call it a unwritten rule, or in many cases, it's a written rule. And I'm sure most of the venues when AEW goes to venues, they probably have a rule written in that no other wrestling show can go there within 30 days or 60 days. It's a pretty standard practice in the wrestling business, and in a lot of entertainment industries, there's rules like that, or both written and unwritten. So, do I think that they do I think, that they literally set out to look for a way to hurt GCW? I'm not ready to go that far with it, but do I think that maybe, um, do I think that maybe it wasn't the most polite thing to do? Maybe. I mean, they are a billionaire company, with endless resources, and they run multiple television shows every week. So they have, they could run an event there anytime they wanted. They don't have to do it in December or January or whatever. They can do it in February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. They could do it every month if they wanted to. But they chose to do it in late December, which happens to be less than 30 days before we're there. So, I mean, it's not the most, it's not the greatest of circumstances for us.
And to me too, this kind of goes into what you guys built with that video package, which was amazing, by the way, and a bunch of them. Just I don't know, just the way it's edited, everything's great, but it almost feeds into it's like, man, like now it's even more like that the GCW faithful needs to go to your show because I don't know, it's not you have something to prove, but it's like to me you have doubly something to prove now.
I agree, and it definitely feels that way. But it almost feels like it has to be that way. I'm so used to GCW being counted out and looked down upon, and our success. I mean, we've achieved success way beyond what anybody could have expected or hoped for us, and quite frankly, what anybody wanted, what a lot of people wanted us. Further than a lot of people wanted us to go. So, it's kind of in our nature to, be the underdog, to have something to prove, to have our backs against the wall. And, as I said earlier today on Twitter, I like a good challenge, and I like being counted out. That seems to be like when we, where we thrive. So
I love
we'll
that.
see what happens. Yeah.
And I love the marketing for it. I mean, that's just genius. Like you're not happy what happened last time, and everybody's out for not revenge, but they're out to outdo themselves, outshine themselves from last time.
Sure. And, just to be clear, we're very proud of our first show there, the show that we ran there in January of 2022. By all accounts, that was the most successful. It was the biggest drawing and biggest gate of any wrestling show ever at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Including ECW and WWF. Nobody sold more tickets for a wrestling event there than we did. From a business standpoint, it was absolutely successful. There's also a lot of people who, they didn't love the show. They thought it could have gone another way. Now, with that being said, there's also a lot of people that absolutely loved that show, and they tell me all the time it was their favorite show. But, when you're looking for, hey, how are we going to market this show? What's our theme going to be? You look for something to lean into. And I like the theme. I like the idea of the wrestling world being against us, the people versus GCW. And it was a baked in theme. Let's go ahead. Let's play off the people who say that, we didn't do a good job, and let's redeem ourselves, So, that's what those videos were about. And that's the attitude that, we've taken for this one. And, again, it's the people versus GCW. We're ready to make our case.
Who did those videos, by the way? Because very, very professional. Like, I mean, awesome. Well done.
Yeah. I don't want to reveal all my team.
But okay. Interesting. All right.
People that have worked with us before, but in terms of the concept and the I don't want to say the writing, because there's not really many lines, but I mean that was my concept. That was an idea that I've had for a couple of years now. So I lay out the vision, and my guys help take it across the the goal line and into the end zone. But yes, these are the best. These are the best in wrestling, the people that work with us to make these videos.
Now, Hammerstein is huge, but so is the American Dream Mall. How's everything going with that? That's awesome.
American Dream is a big deal for us, and it's a big deal for the American Dream. And I think, it's a game changer, pardon the pun. This is another show that I've had my eyes on for a few years. We've come close to making it happen a couple times in the past, and the planets just didn't align. But this year it came together. It's American Dream's an awesome place. I don't know if you guys have been there. Yep. It's not a mall. It's an entertainment and retail complex, just so you know. But no, it's a really fun place. It's a place you can actually go. You can bring a family, or you can just go with some friends, and you can actually spend a day there. And have a lot of fun, and even just walking around. It's a pretty cool place. If you want to use the M word, it's the Mall of America of the East Coast. This is like, it's going to look like Monday Nitro at the Mall of America. That's what we're going for, and that's what it's going to look like. And it's so cool. There's going to be, the tickets are going to be sold out. I've gotten permission to add more standing room 3 times right now, but I don't think they're going to cave again. I think I've reached my absolute limit. It's going to look awesome. And my favorite part is that there's a Starbucks less than 300 feet from the ring. So I'll be able to go and get a drink in between matches or during matches.
Get a nice tall blonde and a chocolate chip cookie. Yeah,
I do
that's
a
gotta be nice.
grande iced brown sugar oat milk shake and espresso.
Oh, okay, nice. All right, not bad. I thought you might say you were gonna tell people to go to Mr. Beast Burger, which is my son loves Mr. Beast Burger. I had to go
Mr.
there a few
Beast
times.
Burger, yep, up on the second floor. I haven't been to this location, to that Mr. Beast, but there's so many good options there. That's what's like crazy. There's so much to do. Literally, I've done multiple walkthroughs as we've drawn closer, and I've taken my family every time just because I'll do the walkthrough and then we'll go over to the Nickelodeon
Yeah, that's
theme
awesome.
park, or go get something to eat, or just walk. Like I said, just walking around there is fun. It's just, I don't know, it's just a cool vibe there.
That's a hell of a workout walking around there too, especially if you go all the
Yeah,
way
good
up to the third
exercise,
floor.
dude.
Oh my God,
Pushing
yeah,
uh
big time.
pushing a pushing a stroller or a wagon around the perimeter of that mall is a workout.
Also, the Fan Fest. Want to bring that up? There's a lot of huge names a part of that Fan Fest.
Yeah. Um this is like our first real foray into something like this. Um but I think it's a natural fit to, if you're going to do an event here at the American Dream in a entertainment and retail complex where there's so much free traffic, walking through. It's almost a no-brainer. This is it's a built-in captive audience. And yeah, even casual fans and people, lapsed fans, know who Kurt Angle is. They know who Mick Foley is. They can literally be walking past them in the mall and say, "Holy shit!" Oh, bad word. Holy s, that's Mick Foley. And walk over and maybe even get a picture with him or something. But yeah, the Fan Fest is cool. Hopefully, it's successful and we can learn a little bit and figure out how to do it again and make it bigger.
JBL too. JBL, Foley, Angle, a lot of big names.
JBL, Foley, Angle, Ricky Morton, so on and so forth. Yeah, and I think it's good. I mean, I think it's a good lineup. I hope it's hard to tell. It's hard to figure out what the reaction's going to be, because the Fan Fest is free, so I don't have like ticket sales to look at to know how many people are coming. But I hope, yeah, I mean, I can't think of a much better lineup to get people to come out.
As far as the Nick Gage Invitational, the NGI, different without Nick being around? Any
Well,
difference to you?
I don't think maybe I need to remind you. NGI won. Nick Gage didn't make it. Went to prison. Went back to prison the night before. So
Oh my
this
God,
isn't
that's
the
oh shit. Okay.
this isn't the first time he wasn't there. Um, but listen, he wasn't there in person, but I talked to him that day, and he sent a nice message to the locker room. And um, again, I mean, of course, it's better when he's there, and in a perfect world, he's there at every NGI and he's there at every show. But again, I think right now we're taking a break, and hopefully this break is productive for everybody. And I'm hopeful that we'll see Nick again soon.
Sawyer Wreck, retirement, going out on top, right? I mean, was that a surprise, the retirement?
Uh, it was a little bit of a surprise, but Sawyer Rex, um, she's somebody she's more than a wrestler. She has a lot more to offer this world than just inside a wrestling ring, and she knows that, and I think she wants to be more than a wrestler. So I think she probably feels like right now she wants to go and see the rest of the world, and she knows that she can always come back to wrestling if she wants. And yeah, I give her credit for that. Somebody who uh, is willing to or feels strongly enough, that they want to see what else is out there. Especially somebody who's as popular as she is and talented. So you know, um, was I surprised a little bit, but I definitely wasn't shocked. And I'm happy for her. And what a way to go out.
No doubt. And for some reason, Lavi really wants to know about Too Cold Scorpio. Have you been able to reconnect with Too Cold at all?
I haven't talked to Too Cold Scorpio lately. But I did talk to him after his legal issues surfaced, because he was supposed to go to Japan with us, but he ended up
Right.
having to pull off that tour. I don't know, I should probably check in with him, but yeah, wow, I should probably check in with him. But all my experiences with him have always been great. He's a cool dude. He's humble. He's appreciative. Always has worked hard, and it, for a guy who's been wrestling for so many years as him, to still give such an effort as he has on the indies is admirable, because he doesn't have to do it, but he does.
He's amazing. Let's hand it over to Lavi.
Thanks, John. Of course, I want to know about Too Cold. That was like my era when he was being booked for GCW regularly. Not every show. I think like the ones that I went to, unfortunately, I kept missing him. So hopefully at some point in the future, I'll catch him. But first, Brett, I always talk about TRILLER. So post merger, they feel the same, different, and it's been a little while, but I know Mike Weber stepped back a bit. How has that change been?
It feels exactly the same, pre and post merger. I actually had to remind myself earlier today that there was a merger, or that the merger went through. Because I had a brief call with them earlier, and it dawned on me, oh, I wonder if that thing went through. And I actually had to Google it to see that, yeah, a month ago it all went through. But no, everything feels the same. I mean, I know that they have plans to, grow and expand the library and the relationships that they have. So, I remain optimistic about the future for TRILLER. And I mean, the product, again, I think we've talked about this before. The TRILLER, fight app, the product is sound. It's a good product. So that's the most important part. It's familiar. It works well. People like watching shows on TRILLER. So, I feel confident for the future of TRILLER, and I do miss Mike Weber.
Yeah, a great guest of the show, and really somebody that threads through the history of pro wrestling and pay-per-view for 40 years. So
Yeah.
as has been reported originally by the Asbury Park Press and then Fightful, we know that the TRILLER contract is a commitment for 75 shows a year. But I want to get into like what that means in terms of like having that stability and that commitment in terms of, does that allow you to take risks to say we're going to, we want to hit all the states, just to have that consistency to book market to market, even if the attendance is up and down? What does that 75 show a year commitment mean?
Well, it in one sense it does provide stability, but also in the other, on the flip side, it doesn't allow you any time for a break. So we're constantly on the move, and again, whether tickets are, whether the market's hot or cold, we got to keep going. There is no take a break. So the good thing is, uh, our viewership numbers are still are strong, growing, and whether and it's, no matter where our show is or what the ticket sales are, our viewership numbers are pretty predictable and they remain strong. So that's important. And yeah, it's a lot of shows per year, 75 under our umbrella, and it keeps us busy. And I mean, I'm proud to of that number. There's nobody else that's doing what we do.
Yeah, and I think when I first just cut the article, and Sherry people were like, I don't know about 75. I was like, let me just go to cage match. And I was like, I didn't really do my math, but it looks like 75 to me. In terms of the numbers that you're getting, I think we had spoken one of the previous 7 times that there wasn't so much analytics being shared at that time. But at this point, do they share out like geographically where people are accessing the show?
It changes. It's because like their interface has changed a few times. You know, when we were doing strictly pay-per-views, I used to get an up to the minute real time report. Showing me how many people were watching, where they were, which state, which country. The interfaces have changed, and it's not as user friendly for somebody like me as it used to be. That doesn't mean that data's not still there. It just means I have to dig for it and or ask questions. It's not something that I follow as closely right now as I used to, because at the moment, my main concern is the overall number of viewers. It's not so much where they're watching from. Not to say it's not important, but that's the number that I'm watching the most right now. But there's definitely some data to be studied somewhere.
And not to belabor the analytics and the points here, but is there sort of like a certain number, and if you hit that number, you go into a monetary bonus, sort of like these are expectations and we're good as long as this continues?
Certainly there are some goals that, should we overperform our contract where, we would be rewarded for that. But that's our contract isn't based on that. We have, we provide X number of shows, with the expectation that, they're all going to be, in the same range, and they are, and they have been since day one. But certainly, if it's structured in a way that, if we're able to, significantly increase our viewing audience, then yes, we would be rewarded for that. But, we're not going to be punished if we don't. Let me put it like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So swinging to a different topic. I'm not sure if I ever thought I would say the sentence, but when we had Violent J of the Insane Clown Posse on the show, he had mentioned something that I haven't heard anywhere else before yet, even from you or GCW, that there's a plan at the gathering of the Juggalos for a GCW versus JCW interpromotional feud, which seems fascinating. What can you say about it?
No, it's true. Violent J laid the gauntlet down. He threw the line in the sand at our last show in Detroit. He wants a war. So, I think we're going to round up the troops and meet him at the gathering of the Juggalos and fight it out.
Have you ever seen that video? I'm sure you've seen the video of like Tracy Smothers sort of riling up the crowd and people just losing it.
Yes, of course I have, and I've followed. I've followed the gathering from a distance, for years and years, and never been able to go. So this will be my first year going, and what a treat! I get to go as with GCW.
Do you have any concerns about being the heel faction surrounded by the Juggalos, or it's all part of the business?
I don't so much have concerns for me or my guys. I actually more have concerns for the Juggalos because, I think if there's certain members of our crew where if somebody were to throw a beer at them, our guys would probably figure out who it was and return the favor 3 times, 4 times, 5 times over.
Fair enough. So WWE ID, right? The new this new phase. Is that changing the way that you're doing business? Has it had an impact on you?
Not changing anything yet, and I don't know of any impact yet. It's still, I mean, I think we're all still sort of figuring out what it is, even the people who are a part of it. I think they're still trying to figure out exactly what it is. Um, it seems like a positive thing, based on the parameters and guidelines and, the explanation of what it is. It seems to be, it seems to be helpful for wrestlers, period. There are no guidelines or restrictions. When you work with a WWID talent, I don't know, is that going to be the same forever? I don't know, but that's the word right now. So yeah, until I see otherwise, I have no reason to think that's going to change.
So last time we talked about, although we couldn't get into too much specifics, sort of like that the relationship with WWE was not only through Josh Barnett, but you had your own connections and relationships and discussions. How has that been? Has it been stable, growing? Where does that stand?
Well, I talk to my good friend Nick Khan on a weekly basis, and of course, we always, uh, share numbers and news and tidbits with each other. Just kidding. But no, I mean, I don't have a day-to-day relationship with the WWE or AEW or anybody for that matter. As far as the WWE goes, we talk when there's something to talk about, but there is no there's no day-to-day relationship. There's nothing on paper, nothing of that sort, or even close to that. It's yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a better way to describe it. It's just like kind of when something comes up, we talk about it, and otherwise it's business as usual.
Yeah. So just from a business standpoint, sort of like taking a step outside and looking at like the way WWE is running events now with, the Florida loop for NXT, that's one thing, but, their shows are limited outside of that. Of course, there's not a lot of house shows now. For me, just thinking about like younger talent that needs work and you running 75 shows, maybe not, the WrestleMania weekend aligning, but many of the other dates potentially aligning. I think just like sending talent to you with like a passionate audience would just make sense. I don't know if that's like on a regular basis, rather than like dropping in one at a time, which has a lot of value too. Could you see things going that way, like in terms of WWE, like reaching out? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I certainly think it would be beneficial for the talent. WWE and AEW, they both have so many people under contract, and they only have so many hours of television each week. There's only so many people who can wrestle real matches each week for their company, and even for the people, even for like the ROH people, there's a lot of people who they may wrestle every week or every other week on this ROH, but what is it? It's a 5-minute match. They're not very. A lot of them are not very competitive. I just don't know. I just know that the way young wrestlers get better is by wrestling, and wrestling frequently, and it's just there's so many people now. It's hard for a lot of people to stay sharp and get better. So yeah, absolutely. Companies could benefit from sending them to GCW or elsewhere. It doesn't have to be GCW, but just letting these guys get out there a little bit, I think it would benefit everybody.
So just going back to the American Dream that you and John talked about, outside of you and those with a vested interest, as you may have noticed, I've been fascinated in terms of watching the ticket sales. Can you share sort of what the capacity is generally for this show?
for American Dream.
Yeah.
So the way this is set up is there is on the floor. There's floor seating. There's ringside seating, and it's going to be inside the barricades. There's going to be a perimeter set up, so you can't get inside that perimeter without a ticket. Ringside ticket. Up on the second and third floor, there's it's standing room, but it's within the barricades. So basically, if you want to have an unobstructed view, if you want to be able to see the ring and watch the wrestling, you have to have a ticket inside the barricade. So, of course, there's so much has gone into the planning of this show because, figuring out a capacity and how many seats and how many people can stand on the second balcony. There's so much permitting and there's engineers involved and people are measuring out literal inch by inch how much space. It's changed several times now, but it's been much more difficult than a usual wrestling show where I can look at a space and say, oh yeah, we can put this many people there. They don't go by wrestling measurements. They go by Bergen County measurements and all that. So the actual number, I don't know what the literal number, the last number by the the most recent engineer was, but it's going to end up being a little under 1,000 by the day of the show.
Nice. I was thinking about that number, around that number. So
Yeah.
for the Hammerstein, we the first time you do something, first time you hit a market that's hot and sort of like pent up demand, things are going to move, uniqueness. And the second show is going to be more challenging. So how do you feel about the ticket sales thus far? And for me, I'm thinking obviously you have an appealing hook, but I think it needs a special match, to really push people over the edge to buy those tickets. How do you think about all that?
Sure, I agree. It's not as easy this time around. It's not the novelty. The novelty is gone now. Not just because we've already been there before, but now AEW just announced 3 days of shows there. So you now have 4 chances to see wrestling at the Hammerstein Ballroom in the next 2 months. So we're not the only game in town. And quite frankly, if you're a casual wrestling fan, if you're not a regular indie wrestling fan, or if you're just a casual, who's going to be more familiar to you? The people at AEW are more familiar. They have, the Chris Jerichos and the the Christians, and they have TV stars. So people going to our show because there's a wrestling show at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Just because it's a wrestling show at the Hammerstein Ballroom, that's off the table now. So yes, we do have to win people over. We do have to sell our card. And of course, we have to give a card worthy of the attention and worthy of the prestige of being there. And we have to make people buy tickets. And that's the game plan. We're working on it. We've got ideas. And I think we'll start to see some of the pictures start to come clear this weekend, and we're working on it and trying to make the rest of it come together.
So years ago, something that kept me sort of interested in the business, even when I got tired of watching it on television, was Ring of Honor, especially Kerry Silkin's Ring of Honor during that peak period, and they weren't afraid of having the street team and being outside Madison Square Garden, to attract people to their shows at the Manhattan Center, the Hammerstein. Would you consider having a team outside the AEW Ring of Honor shows?
Yes. And I would say, are you going to be there this weekend?
At the American Dream?
At AEW.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, yes, all of this has been considered, and I intend to take advantage of every single opportunity that we have between now and January 19th to get people's attention, put flyers in their hands, let them know we're going to be there, and make them want to come. I'm not running Hammerstein Ballroom to sell 700 tickets. I'm running there to make history again. I'm running there to sell out or sell as many tickets as possible. Um, again, this is like, we take a lot of pride in this, and I like a challenge, and, count us out. If you think that we're fucked, let's see what happens. Because I'm going to, again, I'm going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to use all our resources, and we're ready to go. So yes, expect to see us everywhere.
Great. One final part about the Hammerstein was that then actually, John and I were speculating it on the morning, and the news might have come out, but I hadn't seen it yet, that like WWE had made inquiries of actually being in advance of AEW, and they were told that apparently that it was too close to AEW. What did you make of that news?
Of course, I saw those reports, and of course, I raised an eyebrow to that. And again, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to be inflammatory or instigate in any way. But again, it's in many cases it's a written rule. There are a certain number of days that you have exclusivity in a building, and you don't go in if somebody's already there. It's the type of thing that a company like AEW or WWE would sue a venue for if they let somebody else in within. It would be a breach of contract, or it would be, there's law, not whatever. There may be law. There's rules to this. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, that WWE. And again, I'm only going by what you say and the reports that I've heard. But it wouldn't surprise me that WWE would be told no, because there's already somebody here. So yeah, that's the way it goes. I mean, wasn't the story? Didn't they used to say that Vince McMahon used to, book Madison Square Garden so frequently just for the purpose of keeping everybody else out? Wasn't that, what they used to say? Just because he knew if he ran this many times, the window would be shut on everybody else.
Yeah, and I think across the board, before and after, so you can basically lock down every major venue.
Right.
So internationally, huge debut I believe it's a debut in London. So I'd love to hear about that, but I'm also even more curious because there hasn't been a lot of details shared about your debut in France. That's right before that with a promotion called GCW that I'm not familiar with.
Yep. There's a lot of more details will come out about that next week. No, the BZW is a strong up and coming company in France and Belgium. What they're doing, they're literally creating they're creating a market. They're creating an a appetite for indie wrestling in parts of Europe that haven't had it before. And we're learning that there are fans out there and they can be made. This is a prime example. A lot of GCW guys have been there to BZW in both France and Belgium. Joey Janela's been there. Gringo Loco's been there, and a few others. And they all come back and tell me that it's, one of the best crowds they've ever wrestled in front of. So we're excited to go there. And, again, I love bringing GCW to new fans. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
So one of the things that we talked about in the show, and I think, it could be attributable to a number of things, is that sometimes you could see that show to show GCW is really cooking and pushing the limits in terms of the number of rows sold or sold out and so on. And other times you see a lull. And I feel like for the typical, and I'm not sure if there's a typical GCW show, I feel like I've been seeing that for a little while, like Colorado, Sauget, I'm probably messing up the pronunciation. Honolulu seems like a long schlep to sell just a few rows of tickets. Like, is there like a lull?
I would say that there's a bit of a slow season going on for sure. I think it start to hit on the second half of the summer, and I will also say this is not exclusive to GCW. It seems like a lot of entertainment is feeling this, but more specifically, yeah, definitely a lot of indie wrestling companies are feeling this right now. Of course, I talked to lots of promoters, and I know that everybody's kind of feeling, things are challenging right now. And yes, it's been challenging lately for us as well. I think there's a multitude of factors that are going into it. I don't think that suddenly, uh, people decided they don't like indie wrestling anymore, that they don't like GCW anymore. I don't think it's something so dramatic. I think that there's a lot of factors at play, and yeah, I don't know. It just feels like we're gonna have to weather the storm and keep battling it out. And that's why I told you earlier. Um, while some of the ticket numbers are down, our viewership remains strong and is getting stronger. So that's why I know that there's more to it. It's not that just suddenly people aren't interested in going to the shows anymore. I think it may be that people can't go to the shows or can't afford it, or I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, I think, right now.
So, you often mention that you want to go to all 50 states. So, is there some that are closer to fruition that you haven't been yet than others?
I have a couple targets for next year. I don't want to give them away yet, but yeah, some, and we've now hit. I believe we've hit either 28 or 29, so we're more than halfway there. There's still a lot of quote unquote easy ones, or like well, there's still some that shouldn't be too hard, and then there's a few out there that are still very going to be very challenging. So we're going to keep chipping away, and try to take more off the board next year. And I think we're going to hit a few new countries as well. But I mean, that's yeah. I mean, that's my goal. I want to keep chipping away at this, and I just want to bring GCW everywhere. So I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. So, last overarching topic for me before I turn over to John is the collective. I think the venue in Vegas is one of the most ambitious yet. So, I'd love to hear about the strategy for that and how it's going to be more special than ever.
It is very ambitious. It's definitely the nicest place that we've ever held the collective. Once again, probably too nice for us and for indie wrestling. But it's beautiful. It's going to be great for all the shows. We have very strong partners lined up this year, and more that I've had to turn away. So yeah, I think we've already had a couple partners announced, and we should have almost everything announced by the end of this weekend, I believe. So yeah, very ambitious, and we're gonna hit the ground running. And yeah, I don't know, Lavie, I don't know, I'm an ambitious person, so let's bring on the challenges and let's just go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, in reflection, obviously, you're doing so many groundbreaking things, 75 shows a year. I just had a job fair for my students at the college I work in. I'm like, wow, it's been a hard year. I had one job fair at the place where I work, and just to have this process running, on so many cylinders, you really have to, have everything organized and create systems, which I'd imagine, like, you lean back on, like, okay, we have certain towns and so on where let's just do it, to build up that community and the interest, but also, like, we've done it before, and then we could sort of like scale by adding more.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be an interesting. It's hard. It's hard to predict anything right now. And Las Vegas is going to be. It's going to be. I mean, this is going to be a good test for everybody to see exactly what the market can bear. For WWE and for the Indies.
Thanks, Brett. Let me turn over to John.
Brett, before we let you go, give us one last push for everything and anything GCW, including Bloodsport and, of course, American Dream.
Yeah. Don't forget. Thank you for the reminder. The next edition of Bloodsport comes this Sunday at White Eagle Hall in Jersey City. Pretty solid lineup. Josh Barnett versus MVP, Kevin Koo versus Dominic Guarini, Josh Alexander versus Mike Bailey, and many others. It's a very solid Bloodsport lineup. But yeah, American Dream on Saturday at the largest entertainment and retail complex on the East Coast. Going to be, so I think, Lavie, you would know better than me. How many tickets are left? Two standing room tickets?
I cut a screenshot of just 2 tickets right before we recorded. So
unless they tell me I can add more, well, probably by the time you hear this, they're probably going to be gone. So if you want to go, I mean, now listen, you can still come and you can watch on Saturday without it. You don't have to have a ticket to see the show. You're just not going to have a great view. You're going to have to look over people's shoulders, and you're going to be outside the barricade. But yeah, if you want to be inside, I don't know, keep refreshing the Eventbrite page. Like I said, there's always a chance that I sneak an extra one in, or I get approval to add 3 or 4 more. But this is going to be a big one, the American Dream. And there's going to be a lot of Hammerstein related stories told on this Saturday at American Dream. And of course, Hammerstein Ballroom, January the 19th of 2025, New York City, the center of the universe. The sequel to our biggest show ever. We're going to do it again. So please join us. And we'll see you there at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
All right. Awesome stuff as always, Brett. The Ocho, 8 times on the show. Thank you so much. And everybody,
has anybody been out more than me?
I did. I counted the numbers. No, Kleinrock was trying to sneak ahead of you, but you're still ahead. You're both have been appearing about the same time period. So, but you're still ahead, and Brandon Thurston is right up there as well. But you're number 1 at the moment.
Brandon Thurston's from Buffalo.
Yes.
Yep.
All
right, and I'm from Rochester. So
we have good representation. WrestleMap is up there. We've had a number of upstate or Western New York, excuse me.
WrestleMap is a Western New Yorker?
Yes.
Who is the person? Is it a secret?
No, it's Brian. I think his last name is Anderson.
Okay.
At first, because he was reporting so much about Africa, I thought I was trying to figure out the time zones with him, and he's like, "No, I'm Western New York." I was like, "Okay, that'll make it much easier."
Well, everything in wrestling is controlled by the people from Western New York, so the sooner people realize that, the better off we'll all be.
And yes. Mookie Ghana from AEW,
yes, of course,
is from there. So we haven't.
We're
he's
pulling
a friend.
The strings.
Yeah, he's a friend, but I haven't been able to get him on the show yet. So maybe I'll try and track him down when they are in New York. I won't discuss any venue booking issues.
I don't think that's his department anyway, so he's clear.
Yeah. I think he was one of the team that was focused on live events for a while with Jeff Jarrett and so on, but I think that was a while ago. I'm sure the different strategies have changed. My
other good friend.
Yes, the Last Outlaw. Yes,
that's right.
Can he come back and do the favor at the Hammerstein?
Can he come back and do the favor? I don't know. Ask him.
We have to. He hasn't been on since episode 57, but he does follow on Twitter.
Well, I like him. I like Jeff a lot, but I don't know. I don't know what's in the cards as far as that goes.
I just talked to him not that long ago. I'll have to ask him, hey, you gonna go back and job to Effie for GCW or what? You got to return the favor. Come on, Jeff.
I know,
Gotta
right?
bust his balls about that.
He snuck out in the middle of the night.
Imagine Alley Katz teaming up with Jeff Jarrett against Effie. I'm not sure who the fourth person would be, but that's money.
A lot of possibilities, to say the least. But he definitely owes us one.
Yep, I agree. Totally agree. But Brett, thank you so much for all the time. Again, the Ocho. Appreciate it, and good luck with all things GC Dub.
Thank you very much, guys. You have a blessed evening.
Thanks, Brett.
You
Take
too.
care.
Yep. Have a good
Bye.
one, Brett. All right, Lavie, let's wrap this up and head towards the plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about yourself?
So our 100 plus group members on LinkedIn. So follow our group, The Business of the Business. Follow me on X before you drop out for Blue Sky, in which I don't have an account yet. Lavie Marg, LAVIE MARG, and check out our long form articles on LionCubJobSearch.com.
All right. Thank you, Lavie. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, GCW. Thank you, everybody out there for listening. See you right back here next time for a little business of the business. See you next week, folks.